there's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
It's too stressful, and frankly, I do not have the nerve.
Our rights are on the line, folks.
The right to buy Cosby
rights.
sweaters?
Disney just blew $300 million on a movie they're now desperately trying to hide from the public. A princess film so catastrophic that executives are reportedly calling it unwatchable. And the most shocking part? They're secretly starting over with a completely different actress while the original version sits in limbo. This isn't just another box office flop, it's potentially the biggest creative and financial disaster in modern Disney history. The nightmare began when Disney cast Rachel Zegler, an actress who couldn't hide her disdain for the original classic. Instead of showing love for the beloved fairy tale, Zegler trashed it in interviews.
Minecraft in the United States in one weekend made more money than Snow White has made globally after 3 weekends.
She often spoke about wanting to bring a contemporary perspective to Snow White, one insider revealed, while dismissing the 1937 version that millions grew up adoring. One interview clip went viral where Zegler bizarrely stated, "Our rights are on the line, folks, the right to my Cosby sweaters." Fans were left confused and angry. As one entertainment veteran put it, it's like hiring someone who hates burgers to run McDonald's. Disney executives, desperate to seem progressive, ignored these red flags. They backed Zegler's plans to reinvent Snow White as a modern political statement, completely misreading what audiences actually wanted from the iconic princess story. The film's release date kept slipping, pushed from 2024 to 2025 as multiple rounds of reshoots plagued the set. Creative leads cycled through the production like a revolving door, each bringing different visions for how the story should unfold. Even acclaimed filmmaker Greta Gerwig contributed to the screenplay, attempting to balance classic fairy tale elements with modern storytelling.
Rachel Zegler then inexplicably continued to post herself in an empty theater for her own movie. She's literally the only person there. Meanwhile, the experience at Minecraft goes something like this.
Chicken
Pressure mounted as Disney's top brass, including CEO Bob Iger, kept close watch on one of their most treasured properties. At first, Zegler remained optimistic. Script changes and chaotic production environments weren't uncommon for blockbusters, so she took the turmoil in stride. Then came the whispers about tension with her co-star Gal Gadot, who portrayed the evil queen. Despite maintaining a cordial public image, sources indicated serious friction between the two stars. Zegler's outspoken comments criticizing the original 1937 film had already sparked backlash from Disney's devoted fanbase, and this negativity soon infected the set atmosphere. The conflicts peaked during filming of the climactic confrontation between Snow White and the evil queen. According to insiders, the scene required dozens of takes as the two actresses clashed over their approaches. Zegler wanted Snow White portrayed as resilient and morally resolute, while Gadot explored a darker, more improvisational approach, one source revealed. Their intensity clashed, sometimes exploding into unrehearsed battles of will that overshadowed the scripted dialogue. Disney executives, desperate to avoid negative publicity, tried to keep these details under wraps, but rumors spread quickly, painting Zegler as overly zealous and fixated on a vision nobody else shared. Meanwhile, Gadot, already established as a Hollywood powerhouse, reportedly grew exasperated with the endless rewrites and mounting drama. The atmosphere on set became so toxic that cast and crew began distancing themselves from both leads, focusing solely on their tasks to avoid getting caught in the crossfire. And then came the crushing public verdict in the form of the Minecraft movie, a film that exposed just how catastrophically Disney had failed their audience.
The future of Hollywood is being battled out right now in theaters as two live-action remakes from the biggest studios in Hollywood go head-to-head.
What should have been a competitive battle between two major studio releases turned into the most humiliating box office rout in recent memory. Minecraft in the United States in one weekend made more money than Snow White made globally after 3 weekends, box office figures confirmed. While audiences stayed away from Snow White in droves, Minecraft theaters were so packed that cops had to escort rowdy teenagers out, the kind of authentic cultural phenomenon Disney once routinely created. The numbers were brutal and undeniable. The Minecraft movie made $60 million on Saturday. Snow White made $2 million, industry analysts reported. Perhaps most embarrassing were social media images of Zegler posting herself in an empty theater for her own movie, while Minecraft theaters overflowed with genuine enthusiasm. They kept chasing different political messages instead of telling a good story, said one post-production supervisor who worked on several Disney films. In one version, they emphasized feminist empowerment themes so heavy-handedly it felt like a lecture. In another, they focused on the evil queen as some kind of misunderstood victim. They forgot they were making a fairy tale for families. A longtime Disney creative consultant who spoke anonymously lamented, "This is what happens when you prioritize ideology over storytelling." They were so fixated on modernizing and subverting the classic that they lost sight of what made people love Snow White in the first place. The overall tone veered wildly between failed attempts at girl boss empowerment and grim identity politics fables, with none of the magic, wonder, or charm that built the Disney brand. Executives watching the budget balloon past $300 million while audience testing scores plummeted quietly began discussing something previously unthinkable, completely shelving a tentpole Disney princess film. "This is unprecedented," noted a former studio marketing executive.
Warner Brothers' Minecraft movie versus Disney's Snow White, which in theory should be quite a battle, but it's not even a fair fight.
For Disney to completely abandon a $300+ million princess movie before it's even released and start over with a new actress tells you everything about how badly they miscalculated. They realized they'd created something that fundamentally betrayed what audiences want from Snow White. Why would the normally calculated Disney take such a drastic step while Zegler's project was still in limbo? Industry analysts pointed to internal data suggesting the film had alienated the very demographic it needed most. Their own research showed mothers and grandmothers, the decision-makers who bring children to Disney princess films, were actively opposed to this version, revealed one marketing consultant. The film had become radioactive with its core audience. Zegler's reaction was immediate and intense. According to insiders, she was completely blindsided and felt personally betrayed by the studio she had trusted. Most devastating of all, she reportedly learned about Ortega's casting the same way fans did, through online speculation and cryptic confirmations from unnamed Disney representatives. For someone who had poured everything into making her Snow White a success, this felt like a staggering betrayal. Witnesses claimed she broke down in tears upon hearing that Jenna Ortega was being courted for an alternate version of the very role she was still playing. What hurt most was the sudden shift in perception. Zegler had hoped the negativity surrounding her project was merely a rough patch that strong marketing could overcome. Now, with Disney apparently hedging its bets on another version, it appeared the studio no longer believed in her adaptation enough to stand behind it. A veteran Hollywood producer explained the internal conflict. Half the executives were arguing they should just take the financial hit and bury the film entirely. That's how bad it was. Others wanted a quiet theatrical dump with zero promotion to minimize losses. The most telling proposal was to keep it off Disney Plus entirely. Imagine spending hundreds of millions on a Snow White movie you don't even want associated with your brand.
You know what's interesting about all of this is that the only person waiting in line to see Snow White was Rachel Zegler.
For Zegler, the notion of her Snow White not appearing on Disney Plus felt like an existential threat to her career. The platform was Disney's showcase for their intellectual property, and being excluded implied the studio wanted to keep her film at arm's length to protect their brand. Compounding the disaster were the online reactions as audiences discovered Zegler's previous statements about the original film. One viral compilation showed multiple interviews where she appeared to mock or dismiss the beloved classic that had enchanted generations. "Our rights are on the line, folks. The right to my Cosby sweaters," she bizarrely stated in one clip that left viewers confused and alienated. The fundamental misstep was casting someone who clearly didn't respect or understand the source material, noted a casting director who's worked on multiple successful remakes. Audiences can sense authenticity, or lack thereof. When your lead actress is openly criticizing the very film that millions cherish, you've already failed. Social media exploded with reactions from lifelong Disney fans who felt betrayed by the approach. The dam broke when audiences realized this wasn't an update of Snow White. It was a repudiation of everything they loved about it, explained a social media analyst who tracks entertainment trends. Disney essentially told their core audience, "Your childhood favorite was problematic, and we're here to fix it." That's not a winning strategy for a nostalgia-based remake. As the pressure mounted, previously filmed sequences that Zegler believed showcased her best emotional work were removed from the final cut due to continuity issues. The constant reshoots with multiple directors had made the footage too disjointed to use coherently. Her frustration reached breaking point during a closed-door meeting with production heads, where she demanded clarity about Disney's plans.
And everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
When executives offered only vague, non-committal answers, rumors spread that Zegler experienced an emotional breakdown. Some accounts claim she stormed off after hearing Disney might create new promotional materials, minimizing her presence in favor of highlighting the evil queen or side characters. Others suggested her distress stemmed from the dismal box office projections. If the film flopped, would she bear all the blame? Meanwhile, the reports about the Ortega project revealed Disney's desperate course correction. Multiple industry sources confirmed her version would return to the heart of what made the original beloved, with only thoughtful modern updates that enhanced rather than rejected the classic story. They're going back to focusing on Snow White's kindness and inner beauty as strengths, not weaknesses to be fixed, revealed one screenwriter familiar with early development. The public reaction was immediate and telling. Despite having no trailer, poster, or even confirmation, excitement for Ortega's potential film exploded on social media, a damning indictment of how badly Disney had misread their audience with the Zegler approach. The audience sent a clear message, said a studio marketing executive. They wanted Snow White, not a lecture disguised as Snow White. Another industry veteran was more blunt.
Rachel Zegler then inexplicably continued to post herself in an empty theater for her own movie. She's literally the only person there. And do you not understand how humiliating this is?
Disney learned the expensive way that you can update a classic without denouncing it. Modernizing doesn't mean you have to tear down what came before. This public embrace of a back-to-basics approach exposed the fatal flaw in Disney's strategy. As one film historian noted, they forgot that Snow White isn't just a random princess story, it's the foundation of their entire empire. Trying to deconstruct it was like sawing off the branch they were sitting on. The possibility of Disney removing her film from streaming plans in favor of Ortega's project was the final crushing blow. Social media erupted with thousands of voices either criticizing or defending her, while hashtags referencing her alleged meltdown trended for days. Within Disney's corridors, employees expressed regret that what should have been a triumphant retelling had morphed into an ongoing crisis. The brand's reputation was at stake, not just for this film but for future remakes as well. The repeated controversies raised questions about whether Disney's approach to revamping its animated library had become too profit-driven, diluting the core messages that had endeared these stories to generations. The ramifications extended beyond Zegler herself. Cast and crew worried the negative press would damage their careers, attaching them to a project labeled as a fiasco. In an industry where reputation is everything, being part of a troubled film can hinder future opportunities regardless of individual performance. As months passed, fragments of new information kept the rumor mill churning. Some sources claimed Disney was considering releasing both versions in different windows. Others speculated Zegler's film would be drastically re-edited to minimize contentious elements. The most devastating possibility was that the entire project might remain incomplete, a multi-million-dollar fiasco that Disney would rather bury than salvage. The internal screenings only confirmed Disney's nightmare scenario. They tried showing it to test audiences multiple times, desperately recutting between each screening, revealed one marketing researcher who works with major studios. But the fundamental problems couldn't be edited out. They were baked into the concept. The responses were devastating. Families with young children, Disney's core demographic, reportedly showed the strongest negative reactions. Parents didn't want their kids exposed to what they saw as a politically charged reinvention, the researcher explained, and kids were simply bored by all the heavy-handed messaging that replaced the magical elements they expected.
Meanwhile, the experience at Minecraft goes something like this.
When Bob Iger was questioned during a quarterly earnings call about the troubled production, his carefully worded response spoke volumes. He emphasized ensuring each project meets the standards and values our audiences expect from Disney, a corporate-speak acknowledgement that the film had failed its most basic purpose. That statement was Iger's way of distancing the Disney brand from this disaster without openly admitting failure, explained a corporate communications expert. When the CEO starts talking about returning to core values, it's an admission they've strayed too far from what works. A former Disney executive put it more directly. The message to shareholders was clear. We know we messed up, but we're going back to giving audiences what they actually want, not what we think they should want. Perhaps most damning was the emergency screening arranged for Disney's top executives at their corporate headquarters. It was like a funeral, described one attendee. The silence in that room as the credits rolled was deafening. The film's tone vacillated wildly between scenes, shifting from ham-fisted political commentary to attempts at traditional fantasy that felt insincere given the film's obvious ideological agenda. One executive actually said out loud, "We spent $300 million to alienate our core audience," the source revealed. That's when they knew they had created what might be the worst film in modern Disney history. A financial analyst who advises major entertainment companies offered this assessment. This wasn't just a creative failure, it was a fundamental misunderstanding of the Disney business model. They forgot that parents and grandparents are the ones who introduce children to these stories. Alienating them with political messaging in a princess movie is commercial suicide. The most revealing insight came from a longtime Disney animator who had worked on multiple classics. Walt understood something they forgot. These stories work because they speak to universal human experiences, not temporary political trends. Snow White isn't beloved because she needs updating. She's beloved because her story touches something timeless in us. As the 2025 release window approached, Disney found itself in unprecedented territory, owning what insiders described as possibly the worst film they'd ever made. A $300+ million investment that had transformed from potential blockbuster to toxic asset. The studio neither confirmed nor denied the Ortega rumors, nor clarified whether Zegler's adaptation would receive a theatrical release or be quietly sent to streaming, all while beginning secret development on a complete do-over. For Disney, the shattered magic mirror reflected their most painful lesson. When you abandon the storytelling magic that built your empire in favor of political messaging, not even the fairest one of all can save you. The Snow White disaster didn't just waste hundreds of millions of dollars, it exposed the fundamental crisis at the heart of modern Disney, leaving audiences wondering if the studio that once captured the world's imagination had lost its way for good. Perhaps Snow White's ultimate legacy will be forcing Disney to remember what they once knew. Audiences seek entertainment, not lectures, especially when they're paying to enter a fairy tale.